What's going on, guys? It is your boy Thriller here, and we are here for week number three, team builder of the MMDL. We are taking on one of the longest friends I have ever made from the draft league community outside of Owen and John. This is a guy that I met in a draft league hosted by Jed Swarlin, which is a league that primarily had a lot of people that were, from like Spain, Mexico, and everything like that, a part of the league. But obviously, I mean, some people from America on the league as well. And a fun fact about this league, Hanch and I first joined together. I joined that league. I eventually had left, but then came back, but then joined a league, then joined a division of theirs after a person MIA'd or just quit the league, whatever. They had one pick already in, and it was a Mega Pokemon. I was then allowed at that point in time to either change my Mega or keep it, and that's where I used Mega Gallade over Mega Scizor, and it was the best decision I ever made, which led to my first ever championship, which we're never gonna be able to find since old Showdown replays were destroyed back in those backlog files, which makes me so sad. But in that process of winning the championship, I had a nice little meme game with Hanch. And fun fact as well, Hanch was my finals opponent. And literally that finals game between me and Hanch came down to a 50-50 with my Raikou. If I click Thunderbolt in front of his Mega Mawile as he goes into Latias, I think there's a chance Hanch wins the game. Yeah, a chance he wins it. That's based off of my thought process. But if I click the hidden power ice on that swap out, I pretty much win the game. I made the correct 50-50 and won my first real championship. Because obviously I don't really count my first championship I won, which was a default championship. That Haunch gave me my first real championship win. And I believe Haunch and I have never faced off since then. It has been quite literally years since me and Haunch have battled. I think we're going off of like, God, I think this happened back in like, I think it's been about like 8 years, like 6 to 8 years, one at least, or 6, 7, or 8 years since Haunch and I have last did a battle against each other, which that is insane to me. And this is going to be an insane matchup. Now, I do feel a little confident because I do feel like I have a good team matchup in Haunt, but like I stated to you guys in that draft analysis, every matchup may look like an easy matchup, but it's never going to be easy. It definitely comes down to the player. I've known Haunt. He's actually a relatively good player. He's also fair share to get his fair of not good luck every once in a while. But Hodge, I know, is a good battler. I believe he is 1-1 right now going into this week. We really need W right now because this is an 8 week season. And if we don't get a W, we're pretty much forced to win out to guarantee playoffs or basically have to hope that a 4-4 will make it. So we really need this W right now. And I'm hoping with these transactions we made, which you guys can check out the transaction video, which will be one of the more recent videos that I've uploaded onto the channel. We're hoping to pick up a win here. So we're gonna finally into the Steam Builder here. First and foremost, let's talk about Honch's team. He has got the Chandelure, the Chandelure with the ability Sheer Force in Storm Drain. He has Rotom Wash with Earth Eater and Magic Guard. He has Tyranitar with Sword of Ruin and Fluffy, Hitmontop with Scrappy and Tough Claws, a Swellow with Aerially and Punk Rock, a Superior with Grassy Surge, Will Big Body. He did go with Klefki and actually kept Klefki's ability of Prankster, which means it's the only ability he is allowed to get. Again, if you keep the original ability, you only are allowed that one ability. He then also has a Dragalge, Weight Dragon's Well and Regenerator, a Silvally where he kept the RKS system. Because based on what I believe happens here is if you grab Silvally and you don't use the RKS system, it is only a normal type Silvally, if my memory serves correct. So he went with just keeping it the RKS system so you can have the multiple change typing here. And he has a Mudsdale here with Water Absorb and Mold Breaker. Looking at this team matchup here, We'll start from the bottom and work our way up here. I think Mudsdale does have a fair shot to show up this matchup. Mudsdale is definitely something that has a lot of more versatility in terms of being just a good bulky ground. If Mudsdale does come to me, I feel like it's forced to be an AV set so we can take on some of the special threats that I do have on my team. And I do think Water Absorb has to be the ability. Excuse me. Still decently early in the morning for me, so I'm a little tired still. But I think with the amount of water coverage I have on my team, some of the water options I have here with Starmie and then Drizzle with Torn, I really think he could bring that there. The only reason I think this is a really rough matchup for Mudsdale is again, I do have my waters that do get coverage to can still beat it. I have a Torn that can just go something else, a Jolteon that just beats it, Rillaboom that's right there, Fortress that can just wall it forever, like a Galarian Weezing that can even wall it forever, and even a Magmar that can two-shot it in the sun potentially. So definitely a mon I don't think comes this game, but has a lot of merit to show up into this matchup. Silvally, I think 1000% comes here. I think Parting Shot is definitely going to be something on Haunch's radar here. I do think he's going to go with the Ghost memory this week. I think Ghost is really good into my team because I think Ghost makes a lot more sense here because of something we'll talk about here later. But I think Ghost makes a lot of sense here into the matchup here. I think this is going to be a Pokemon that could be Parting Shot, it could be Defog, it could just be utility, it could also be just an offensive piece. But definitely a Pokemon that can just change its typing on a dime and just be anything it really wants to. So definitely going to be a Pokemon we're going to have to keep our very much close eye on here for this matchup. Up next is your Galaxy. Definitely a Mon I could see possibly being brought to this matchup. It's definitely a very annoying Mon for some of my things to hit offensively. And it just takes a lot of good hits from a lot of things on my team. It's definitely going to be a strong Mon. Overall, this Mon can just do a lot of damage to our team if we're not careful, especially if it's Dragon's Maul. Dragon is a super spamable typing to my team outside of my Weezing, which Sludge Bomb can also be one to 1v1 that thing. Now, there is a Pokemon on my team that just hard walls this Pokemon in Fortress, but outside of that, I can't really outwall it, but I do outspeed it a lot, which means that speed stat potentially could be really a hindering thing for this strategy to be overwhelmed. So I don't really know at the top of my head. This is definitely a mon that could definitely be here. I do think Regen makes the most sense off this Pokemon, so it can kind of be a lightly, offensive threat while also still being a decent mon that can hit hard. Klefki, 1000% I'm expecting to be brought here. I think either potential options with spikes plus T Wave or even screens in general is really important to haunch this matchup, especially since now there's a lot more options. But with me having spin option, he might not want to try to hazard stack me. I think he might just try to go with screens here. Screens is definitely something I struggle to break away because it's definitely going to be something I can't reliably do. So, definitely something to keep that in the back of the mind there. But do you think it's going to offer some decent options here? Superior, I definitely don't think comes this week. It's definitely a mon I think guaranteed doesn't show up here. I really don't think it has any merit to show up this matchup. The only reason Sir possibly comes if he needs something to check potentially Magmar, which Magmar is a 50-50 bring on my end as well, but we'll talk about stuff like that later. But I just don't think Superior is really that good here. I don't Superior really offers anything to his team that can do anything and still loses to a lot of things. Excuse me, sorry. It still loses to a lot of Pokemon on my team, so I really don't think there's a chance he brings it. The only reason he would probably bring it is maybe for Leech Seed spreads, maybe Sun Spores and stuff like that. I don't know. Up next is Swellow. Swellow is the number one pick from Hellish in this matchup. I have very little counterplay to Swellow. This is definitely going to be an aerial slow, and I am expecting pretty much fully special Swellow. I am potentially expecting specs. I could be expecting something like just Sharp Beak, maybe, if he doesn't want to be choice locked here. I have very little switchings to this Pokemon. This Pokemon is going to be very annoying for our team to deal with here, and is definitely going to be a mon that we have to try our best to play around and then hopefully be able to beat. But I have some risky plays I have in mind here, and I do have some Pokemon that can actually be able to help us here into this matchup. So Swallow definitely going to be an issue for our team if it's specs, but if it's not specs, I think we have ways to counteract that. Hitmontop, I almost feel like Haunch is forced to bring here as he really needs the priority on his team to handle some of the things that we have. So this thing is just really a threat. As well. Oh my god, sorry for yawning, guys. This thing's also just a massive threat. I do think it's going to be Tough Claws here. Tough Claws makes the most sense into our team. I do think it's going to be a mon that can be really hard for us to hit. Now, if you guys don't know, obviously this thing has three forms of priority in Mach Punch, Bullet Punch, and Sucker Punch. Hence, the word Tough Claws works really well in this matchup. Scrappy makes seriously no sense. I don't have a Ghost type anymore, or I don't think you even had one before. And also, I don't have any Intimidate users, so 100% Tough Claws is coming. I don't know how many priority options he's really going to run on this thing. I think Bullet Punch could make sense here versus me. I do think Mach Punch makes guaranteed sense here, but I don't think he's going to be both. I think he either is going to go with Bullet Punch slash Mach Punch or Sucker Punch slash Mach Punch. He's going to go with one of those two options. I think double priority is not a bad thing in this matchup. But if he's just one form priority and it's Mach Punch, we're actually in a really good situation here. But if it's double priority, like I'm expecting him to be, it's definitely going to be a little concern. But let alone, I do think this is going to be a great hit on top matchup here for him, and I do think it makes sense here. Is it gives him another option to potentially spin in case I do want to try to hazard with my Fortress potentially. Up next is Tyranitar, and I think Haunch is forced to bring this Pokemon, and he's forced to bring Fluffy. Like, you look at some of the offensive pieces I have on my team here, Haunch really does need T-Tar, and he also needs T-Tar typing to really help him out here as well. He needs T-Tar in order to handle Torn Eye, he needs T-Tar to help even deal with Fortress to an extent. But he also needs it for like things like Fly On where you can take hits and just go for Ice Beams. He needs it so he can take a hit from low kicks, Rock, and everything like that. I really think he's forced to bring it this game and bring Fluffy on it. I don't think he's going to be able to bring Sword of Ruin. Now, there can be a possibility he leaves Tyranitar out of this matchup. There's definitely a possibility he can do that and swap it in for something like maybe something like Reality potentially, or even Mudsdale. But I think he has to bring it in order to be able to take hits from Rillaboom, take hits from Starmie as well and Torn and Flygon. Like I feel like there's a lot of things he's gonna want to do in this matchup that he needs this thing for. But we'll have to wait and see. He could definitely not bring it, but I really think this is something I expect him to bring. Rotom Wash, I think, definitely comes as a good defensive water type this matchup. I think Earth Eater obviously is the ability of choice here. That way he only has one weakness on his team with this Pokemon. So I really feel like that makes a lot of sense here. Definitely a mon I expect him to 1000% bring. Fully physically defensive variation, I would have to take a guess here. If he's not bringing Fluffy T-Tar or something like a mixed defensive or especially defensive set, because he just really needs the bulk on this Rotom. This Rotom's here to pretty much be pivoting, Will-O-Wisp-ing, maybe even discharging, pain splitting, whatever you want to say. This is definitely an annoying Pokemon that we have to deal with, but we have a lot of ways to be able to beat this Pokemon, so I'm feeling pretty confident with what we got here for that. And then Chandelure, definitely a Pokemon I can see him bringing this game. Definitely something to kind of also be looking out for here. Sheer Force and Storm Drain. Sheer Force is insanely threatening on a Pokemon that has like around a base 145 special attack stat. Definitely a massive threat here. But here's the reason why I do think Chandelure is a little tough to bring this matchup. First off, it's Storm Drain. There's no ifs, ands about this Pokemon is going to be Storm Drain. Storm Drain is needed to be able to be sure he can counteract the left Primordial you'll see from Starmie. Storm Drain also helps with the water coverage of Weather Ball from Torn Eye that I'm going to need in this matchup. I just really, really think he has to be Storm Drain in this matchup. Now, he definitely could still be Sheer Force. Now, if he does bring the Chandelure here, it is forced to be Scarf. There is no other set that makes sense here outside of Scarf. And Scarf is still going to hit insanely hard, and I do not have a lot of great Ghost Resist. My only Ghost Resist actually can be two-shotted, more than likely. Everything else actually gets two-shotted to potentially L-Code from Sheer Force, so definitely have to keep that in the back of my mind. But I don't really think there's a merit to bring it into my team, personally speaking. But we'll have to see what Hodge does here. It can, with being Scarf, it's not going to be able to hit a lot harder and against a lot of things on our team here. But overall, using Chandelure is a really strong Pokemon. So, real quick, we're going to go over the team I expect Haunch to bring right here. So, with the team I expect Haunch to bring, I'm definitely expecting the Savali with the Arceus system and the Prankster Klefki. I'm expecting Airlade on the Swallow, the Earth Eater on the Rotom Watch, Fluffy T-Tar and Tough Claws on the Hitmontop. The only Pokemon I think that make the most sense to potentially be brought in this matchup, if something like maybe T-Tar doesn't show up, is either the Regenerator Dragalge or the Sheer Force slash Storm Drain on the Chandelure. I don't think Mudsdale or Serp show up at all in this matchup. But that's my thought process, and that is where I'm playing it. But with the changes we made, guys, we made 5 changes, and 3 of those 5 changes are making their debut this week, and one mon is finally making his debut, even though he should have made his damn debut the first 2 weeks. We're kicking it off here with Grass DK, the Rillaboom here with the Coldberry. We are bulk up high horsepower body slam and seed bomb with Galvanize here. With Galvanize, where body slam can pretty much hit everything on his team, which is really great outside of Mudsdale. We are bulk up this week. It's a little bit more of a riskier set, but with bulk up, we are able to shut down a couple of options on his team here and be able to do a lot of different things here. Now, obviously, with being this set, we are and with our team that we have structured here, we are very weak to fire from the Chandelure, but he may not know that. He may think Starmie has to come into this matchup here. But Rillaboom, I was set on Cobaberry. I think outside of specs, guarantee lives a hit. With specs, however, and it's potentially modest, but I don't think he can afford to be modest. I think he has to go timid. Timid specs, if I take any chip damage, pretty much will guarantee knock me out. But if I'm at full HP, I should always live 1 hit. There is probably a roll where I can still die outside of Berry. But if I take any damage, then this Berry is going to be useless. But regardless, I do think this is a mon that can do really well against Hanch's team. With a bulk up, we are previously taking hits from everything on his team outside of anything else. And then with high horsepower, we are able to hit things like the Grialgi and Klefki with hyper any the Dragalge potentially. Body Slam helps it is Levitate Klefki if I want to hit that for super effective damage, but also being able to hit everything on his team for a neutral or super effective offensive action, and C-Bomb to just pretty much hit insanely hard into the matchup. I was maybe thinking of potentially Scar for Banded Rillaboom because it can hit a little more harder, but I like the option of being able to set up and trying to take hits more than trying to be able to just click a button into the C word. Clicking a button is a little more risky or hesitant depending on the matchup here. But based on the team we could potentially see here, I could change the set to potentially be either Spark or Banded, depending on what I feel like the matchup is going to offer us. Up next, we got my son, Thrill Shock, and this is easily the best Jolteon matchup I've ever seen in my life. With Refrigerate, Thunderbolt plus Yawn literally has no counterplay outside of maybe other type like a Resist Both, which both don't. Like this Pokemon is going to be insanely good. Now I do expect Haunch to think I am going to be choice Specs this matchup because Specs makes so much sense into Haunch's team. But I'm taking a gamble here and I'm not running Specs. The reason why we're not going Specs like I didn't do with week 1 was I don't like being choice locked hurt us more than it helped us. I felt like this was a Pokemon that could just do a lot of good offensive damage here. We are actually Calm Mind so that we can actually be able to beat Swallow 1v1 even if it is Specs and be able to take 1 or 2 hits from the Chandelure potentially. Now, we do need to be a little more careful with how we play our Jolteon this matchup. I'm probably not trying to click Calm Mind or Yawn unless I see a good opportunity to, where I can force a switch out potentially. But outside of that, Jolteon really does a lot of damage here. Jolteon can just really be able to set up for free in most scenarios and just hit insanely hard. This Pokemon just does really well, and I'm really excited for my boy here. We're 52 HP, max special attack with the modest nature, 116 in the Spadef, 88 speed. The 88 speed lets us outspeed the Silvally and below. I am not expecting I'm expecting Swellow pretty much to outspeed this. Now, the reason why we're taking a bit of a gamble here with this is that Haunch is not going to know that in fact that I'm slower than him. So Haunch is always going to be playing around this, and then we get into a point where he's forced to click a move. We can then bring in something to either get a revenge or set up for free, and then we go from there. So definitely something to keep that in the back of our mind here. Jolteon just does insanely well into the matchup here, and I just think Jolteon is just going to do insanely well for us here. So we also did not talk about DK here. DK is basically faster than the Chandelure and everything else down below, and this for the rest of the Spadef, so we can try to look ahead. Making their debut this week for the team is going to be our Dragon Fang holding Shadow Shield Norberta, and we are actually special. Now, you may ask yourself, why am I Shadow Shield with Draco Meteor when I could have just been Compound Eyes? Well, with this set, it's kind of more of a beneficial thing. Draco Meteor is there just in case they really want to chip something down for big, massive damage. I was thinking of potentially running the Jetpack, but with the Dragon Fang, we do hit a lot of things really hard. Earth Power plus Giga Drain lets me be able to beat Klefki and Rotom 1v1 no matter what the situation is. And then with Dragon Pulse and Draco Meteor, I'm hitting everything really hard, which is really nice here. We are max special attack with 40 speed depth and 216 with Timid Nature, again outspeeding that Cell Valley. Basically, most of the Pokemon we have on our team here is strictly here to design to outspeed the Savali and some other things here. Just be able to go have some speed respect there on the matchup here, but making sure he can't get like a fast parting shot potentially or anything like that. So just doing our best to kind of keep that in mind. Norberta hits insanely hard in this matchup, and I really think Norberta's going to do really well for us here in this matchup. Like again, it's a Pokemon that can beat Rotom 1v1. Rotom's going to probably think he's going to Will-O-Wisp me. Oh, guess what? I'm going to Giga Drain you. Now he could still Will-O-Wisp me to guarantee make sure I have no Shadow Shield, which is definitely a possibility. But he's never going to fully know I'm Shadow Shield until he kind of does a calc. And if he figures that out, then that's a little bad for us. But if he doesn't, then we can kind of be able to try to get Giga Drains off unless it's not Will-O-Wisp. So now, originally, I wasn't fully thinking of bringing this Pokemon because I did think it had a really raw matchup here, and I really felt like it was going to be actually top. And I'm actually going to go ahead and change this because I did a calc for what I learned. I'll explain that. I was really debating on this, and this was a Pokemon I was very hesitant to potentially bring. I was thinking of maybe bringing Starmie over this, maybe Fortress over this, maybe even Wheezing to an extent, but it was mostly going to be Starmie or Fortress. But I decided to go with Princess here, or Lycanroc Dust here, with a Sword of Ruin ability. Now, I went with this primarily for the reason that he looked at the calcs. If I get an SD off, I pretty much OHKO 2-hit KO every damn Pokemon on Haunch's team. Now, we do have enough speed to make sure we are faster than Silvally, which is great. And what's really great about this, well, is unless Haunch is not scarfed and he's not specs, and he doesn't run quick attack on that damn bird, after SD, I think I pretty much beat his team because this guarantee OHKOs a fluffy T-Tar that is max. This guarantee pretty much always OHKOs a non only a max I believe it's a max HP Hitmontop potentially, I believe it was, or it was an offensive Hitmontop. And here's the thing as well. If I get that drill run damage off on him, first of all, it's a guaranteed to heal outside of the sword stance there. So I can always take a hit from him. But if I get that sword stance off, it's really, really great for us here. Again, if we can get a brick break off on the Rotom, I think we pretty much guarantee 2 AKO that Pokemon, which is really great. Now, originally, he did have Close Combat, which guaranteed did 2 KO or Close Combat into a Cell Rock, guaranteed 2 KO. I'm still hesitant on whether or not I really want to go Brick Break or Close Combat. The reason why I want to go Brick Break, again, guarantees only those damage calcs I was looking at, but also stops the screens from Klefki. But the problem is that I always get hit with a foul play in return of trying to break those screens. So I don't know if I want to do that. I really feel like this is a really important mod to bring here for that reason. And I know I could just go Psychic Fangs as well, but Psychic Fangs doesn't really much for this team matchup here outside of hitting the Hitmontop, which Han should always fear potentially me being Psychic Fangs this matchup. I think he always has to fear Psychic Fangs. If he does not fear Psychic Fangs, then Hunch is a real Comfey lover. Um, just as a joke, as me and everyone are just joke that Hunch's favorite Pokemon's Comfey, even though it's Hunch Girl. But yeah, this mod can hit insanely hard and does really well in this matchup. Making his debut from Team OG Albina to the Team Iowa Jolteons, it's the gamer, the Magmar Gaming, everybody. And this is a semi-risky, but I think it's actually a really good Magmar this week. This Magmar actually does quite a lot here. It's Eviolite, so you definitely take some more hits here. We are Fire Blast, Lava Plume, Flamethrower, and Scorching Sands. We are all fire type moves and Scorching Sands, outside of the fact that he has no fire resistance on his team, outside of ET-Tar, which is, by mind you, Fluffy. This Pokemon god damn near dies. Like, two Fire Blasts actually OHKO a max HP Tyranitar. I kid you not. A Fizdef T-Tar, which I would expect him to bring here against Fluffy, it gets two-shotted if it's at just max HP with Fire Blast. That is just so disgusting to me that that is the case right there. I wanted Solar Beam, but apparently Magmar doesn't learn Solar Beam, which is actually kind of rough. I actually might get rid of Magmar. We'll keep him as it is. Scorching Sands also, with a Fire Blast into Scorching Sands, lets us be able to help 1v1 against the Dragalge potentially. Now, if Surf does come, I am going to respect the fact that it is definitely going to be a well-beat body in this matchup. I really think Magmar can do a lot of things here. Magmar has enough speed to outspeed a max speed T-Tar. For some reason, Haunch is running crazy stuff like a max speed T-Tar. We are modest to hit insanely damn hard in this matchup, and we are screwing the rest into our defenses to take hits. I might put this all in Spadef potentially, because I don't think I'm really gonna need you this dev. Actually, I might make that change actually, and I might throw in like at least a little over 100 in Spadaf and then throw the rest into HP so we have some little HP bulk as well. So, yeah, this thing is going to just hit really hard and be able to hopefully take some hits or two. If it at least takes 1 to 2 boom burst, if it's not, if it's specs, it guarantee takes one. If it's not specs, hopefully this will take two and to be able to do all the damage. I have faith in Magmar. I really believe Magmar is going to put in some work this week. And last but not least is our Tornadus here, holding the Wakan Berry with the Nasty Blood, Weather Ball, Air Slash, and Psychic. With the Nasty Plot off, I believe it is actually a potential roll to Oatco. The Rotom with a Psychic here if it's just max HP. I think it's a roll potentially. I could be very wrong about this. Again, it outspeeds the Savali and everything else down below, which is really, really great, which is really good for our team here. With Nasty Plot and just being 2-click moves with Air Slash, Weather Ball, and Psychic. Now you may be asking yourself, why am I not Hurricane this matchup? And I might change it back, I might not. It's just one of those things where Klefki can definitely beat a Disruptor. Klefki can definitely stop my rain, potentially with something like Sunny Day if you really wanted to. I just think this is one of those options where maybe Air Slash is just a safer bring. It has less chances to worry about missing outside of the rain. But I might switch it back to Hurricane. I may not. It just really kind of depends on what I really want to do here in this type of a matchup. But with that being said, that is going to be the team, guys. Again, I might make some small changes and I might make some tell you guys about it. But regardless, this is going to be our team, guys. Let me know in the comments down below. Are you excited to finally see Willow make his debut, even though I probably should have brought him the first 2 weeks? Are you excited for the new members of the squad making their debut today? And more importantly, are you hyped for some Magmar gaming? Let me know in the comments section down below. With that, though, I'm going to go ahead and get ready to schedule my match with Haunch and eventually play him in the coming days, which I'm again, win or lose, I'm just looking forward to finally playing Haunch. It's been literally like between 6 to 8 years since we have last played against each other, and I'm finally happy enough to finally see a match between us. And I'm really looking forward to it. If you guys are hyped though, again, like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll see you guys for game day. Until next time, guys, peace.